Hello followers and welcome back to my Minecraft tutorial. This is episode 56 and in today's episode we're going to be looking at redstone clock circuits. So this is quite a simple episode in regards to redstone. Redstone clocks are not too hard to understand. They aren't used a whole lot in survival, honestly. They're more used for more advanced circuits in bigger redstone builds, but they are quite important and they do have a few limited uses in survival, so we are actually going to just take a quick look at them today. Very brief overview. If you want to know more about redstone clocks and you're more interested in doing more advanced redstone, then I would suggest looking at the wiki page, which is going to be in the description. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So clock circuits are a type of redstone circuit which toggle an output on and off at a certain interval. So as you can see here, this is a redstone clock made up of torches, and this is turning on and off at a certain interval. So there you go, the piston is activated on and off. So the interval is determined by the player, who can control the length of time something is on and off with a variety of different tools. And this can be torches, it can be repeaters, it can be pistons, hoppers, and there are a couple of other ones which are more exotic, like minecarts, and you can use cacti, and boats I think you can use, and all sorts of weird things. But I'm not going to get into those because they're more advanced redstone stuff and they don't get used a whole lot anymore, to be honest. So I've decided to just keep this to redstone and try and keep it as simple as possible for you guys. So if you want to know more about them, as I say, I would check the wiki page. So, as I say, they don't appear in survival all too often. When they do, it's usually around the idea of automation. There are a lot of semi-automatic farms and mob grinders that are built around redstone clocks. So an example of this would be a semi-automatic farm that, say, after half an hour, automatically harvests for you and then sends a note block signal, sends a signal to a note block which would then tell you, hey, the farm has been harvested, so you could go and replant. For example, you could have the note block set up near your mob trap, so you would know exactly when it's been harvested, and then you could head over there and replant. And that's the biggest drawback with these. You can't replant. If you could, these would be incredibly useful, but because you can't replant, there's no real difference to you just going over to your farm and pushing a button and it harvesting anyway. But that is the most common use of the redstone clock. But other than that, it's not commonly used in survival. There are a couple of other niche uses for it, but we're not really going to get into those because I'm trying to keep my tutorials more A, survival based, and B, quite broad. If you want to know more, as I say, the wiki will be your best bet on that one. So, as I say, many types of clocks can be made, not just from redstone. Depending on the length of time the player wants something to be on or off. So this one is quite a fast one. All of these are quite fast in the sense that pretty much every single clock here, it does not last longer than 5 seconds. You can make them faster if you wish, or slower. So most commonly you would want them to be quite slow, and that's the ones that use cactus growth and stuff like that. If you want to make something really slow, for example, you wouldn't want something this fast harvesting your farm because you wouldn't have any time for anything to grow. You would want a fairly slow one, maybe a 10-15 minute clock that every 15 minutes it automatically harvests your farm. But without a way to truly replant it, there's not too many things I could think of as regards the use of this. One thing I can think of though is a flower farm, where now we can have bone meal actually grow grass and stuff. You could grow seeds that way, and flowers, and you could have it hooked up to a redstone clock that activates every 5 minutes, or even less than that, I guess, because bone meal is instant on grass, maybe once every 10 seconds, and you could make lots of flowers and seeds easily using that setup. You would need some water dispensers and stuff, and we may look into doing that, but for right now I'm not going to look into doing that. But that is an example of it. I think there is something on the wiki where you can actually look at flower farming, and this would be a way of actually using a redstone clock. So one thing I do want to show you is these guys. These three right here. These are something that we actually looked at way back now in the Redstone Torch episode, and that is this. Do you remember this? Where we have the whole torch dealio and the dust, so we have the torch here and it blinks on and off and burns out. Well, that is actually a redstone clock. We have these set up here, and these are what's known as a rapid pulsar, and this means that they activate incredibly fast. These are 1-tick clocks. These activate supposedly once every 1/10 of a second, but due to buggy behavior these aren't used a lot. As you can see, this is quite buggy. It doesn't work properly at all, so we don't use these very often, which is why I avoided talking about it in the Redstone Torch episode. It does have a limited number of uses if you want something to be inconsistent, but it's very, very limited. We have better ways of doing something than this now. The most common thing if you want something to be inconsistent is I would go with a randomizer over one of these things. But if you're playing in something in a version lower than 1.5, then you might want to go with this torch pulsar or one of these three designs. But as I say, they are very inconsistent and are not used a whole lot. But that is what they are. This one here and this one here rely entirely on torch-based design, and I'm not sure if I've already explained it, but this one is a 5 clock, and what all that means is it's just basically a period length. And what that means is if you want to find out what that means, just double the 5 so you get 10, and then convert 10 into ticks. So this one goes on and off every second, because we know that 10 ticks equals 1 second. So every second this thing turns on and off. It's called a 5 clock because it's going on or off every half a second, so it's going to be doing one of the two. So that's where we derive those names from. There are various different lengths. There are 4 clocks, 2 clocks. The rapid pulsars are 1 clocks. There are 8, 16, so many different types now, especially with the addition of hoppers and stuff like that. But if you want to get more into that, then again I would suggest the wiki, because these are quite advanced things as regards redstone. So here we have some repeater based versions. These two require a torch to be placed in the circuit and then quickly removed and replaced by redstone dust. And what this is for is to give it a kickstart, because there's no other torches in the circuit like is what is going to be used in the rest of them. So as you can see, there were torches based in those two. There's a torch there, torches in the rapid pulsars, but in these do not have a torch, so they have no way of getting powered on their own. So you would take this piece of redstone dust out, and then you would put a torch in, let everything power up, and then quickly swap them over, and you would get a clock using this. So this one here is a 4 clock because it has 8 total ticks on the repeater, and it will activate, as you can see right there. Again, same thing here. This one is a vertical repeater based version. Does not need to have the same things done to it as these two because it has a torch in the circuit, and this one is quite useful in a sense because you could actually get 2 outputs from this. I believe one here and one there. So this one is great if you want 2 outputs. And this one here supposedly is meant to turn off with a lever. This one is off the wiki, but that doesn't seem to entirely work. This guy right here is a 1 clock. It's 1 tick using a piston. You could slow this down by adding repeaters and setting timings here if you wanted to, and that would slow the piston down. So yeah, you could turn this one off by just flicking up the lever, and it will stop the block from moving here over the wiring, which is connected in here, just a bit of redstone dust in here. As we know, solid blocks cut redstone wire so that it turns it off and makes it pulse like that. So yeah, that's that one. And again, here another one using a lever. This one relies on pistons again, and when this is on, this piston is getting power, and I believe that there is there's redstone dust here that gets cut. Can you see it getting cut? It's very fast. So that turns it back in, retracts it, but then it gets powered again, so it pushes out. When you turn it off, the other piston gets powered, pushing the block into this piston, stopping it from activating. So that is how this clock works. There's not, as I say, much to talk about really beyond this. We may look at using some clock circuits in some automatic farms when we get back to the regular tutorial world, but it's unlikely. They're not that useful outside of big redstone builds and very advanced things. Certainly things that are not very basic, which I want to kind of keep this tutorial focused around. This is not a redstone specific series, so again, these are not covered very often either because of their limited uses, so that's why I just kind of gave you this very brief overview to redstone clocks. So as I say, if you want to know more about what they do in more depth and what you could do with them, I would recommend checking out the wiki and probably having a search around on YouTube. This tutorial was just kind of to give you the idea of the basics around them and what they look like and the different types that you can have and what you can use them for. And it's not a whole lot, I'm not gonna lie, but there you go, that's redstone clocks. Next episode we're going to be taking a look at something more useful, and that is memory circuits. So we're going to be looking at T flip-flops and RS NOR latches and all that stuff we're going to be looking at next episode, and then after that we're going to be looking at the wonderful world of bud switches and randomizers, which is going to be our final tutorial on this world. So after that we will be heading back to the regular tutorial world, which I cannot wait for because I've missed that place. This redstone tutorial world is great and everything, but sometimes you just want to do something different from redstone. But here we go, we're nearly there now. I'm going to show you everything that I know as regards redstone, and from my own experience I don't use these very often in survival, I think, or at all. I've not used them very often, but that's it. As I say, so that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope that you've enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next episode. So until then, see you later and have a good day.